Impromptu,
But-
true or false. The Leafs have talked about this internally.
You'd be crazy if you didn't.
Got to chat.
So true.
You're not covering all your angles. You're not doing your job.
Correct.
You're not doing your due diligence if you haven't had that conversation. But there's got to be multiple failed
Attempts to return.
attempts to
recovery
return.
or whatever.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Attempts to return before you go down there to now sit there and contemplate shutting him down now or the next week or two is, I think, nutso.
So there is.
Well, I agree with that.
So what is the Four Nations break? It's like the 8th to the 22nd, I think. I think they play on the 8th, and I think they play on the 22nd.
What do you guys want to talk about during that time?
Oh, God, Latvia. But so they don't play for those 2 weeks. From the 22nd to March 7th, I believe, is the lead up to trade deadline. You're going to have 2-week pocket in there to see him play and assess. Even if, to me, if he stays healthy over that 2 week, but he looks like he's looked, you'd say, what if we give him 6 weeks here to get to postseason? What if we just give him that rest? 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and spend his money and go get JT Miller from Vancouver, who plays center for us if we need, wing if we want, has a little feist, little playoff. Guys, I'm just throwing stuff around here.
I think they have a truly, truly generational chance here with the way that it's looked. They've never done anything like this in this generation of Leafs hockey. And the way he's looked, it's so easy to be like, we're shutting him down. You've already got the alibi of him going to Germany.
This is such a podcast conversation.
But it's true though. You literally have an alibi. Yeah. He went to Germany to get this looked at. It is. It's what it is. Like when Gary comes knocking on the door, be like, buddy, he was in Germany. I don't know.
We're just throwing things around.
No, I think it's if you're not Brett Treliving, if you're not Brendan Shanahan, you're not doing your job. If you're not having alternative possibilities.
Time goes fast, really, really fast. It's January in a moment here, and it's like 100 days till playoffs.
Yeah.
Not that far away.
So the general feeling is that they're not looking at that type of move right now. So you were looking for
they want him to play and help him win.
A lesser kind of depth centerman. Yannick Gord's name comes up a lot out of Seattle.
I love him, but I don't know if he's still effective.
Well, and the price won't be that bad compared to what you were talking about moments ago with JT Miller.
Yeah.
So does Austin now change that?
Yeah. The Gord thing's interesting specifically because of Holmberg and Kampf at 2C for them. Like Gord can at least do that and chip in some offense. But yeah, that would definitely change the math about who you're talking about and who you'd have to spend.
So let's say, to Sam's point, that they go out there and they get their $8 or $9 million player in JT Miller or Kadri, right?
Yeah.
You're going to talk about next year.
What does that do moving forward here? John Tavares slide into easy. So if you had, in Sammy's perfect world next year, Austin, JT Miller, and Tavares, and does Tavares come in at $3 million? Not $7 million.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's the only way you keep Tavares, right? You can't, he's either the centerman for the, Ottawa Senators or something next year.
Nashville, probably.
Yeah. But I think he really loves Ontario and his family. But if you did something like that, it certainly hurts his chances and leverage, in which case he probably makes less money and still stays. He seems to really like it here.
I'm not sure even if he stays for less money, there's a place for him because.
Yeah, if you give Mitch 13 or whatever the number ends up being, and then you got to give Tavares, and now you've added Miller, you're right. You're handcuffed.
I'm not even thinking about necessarily numbers compared to, like, at what point do you say, I got a young player in Minton that needs to find a third line role.
Sure.
So if I commit to John Tavares as a third line centerman, is Minton now my fourth line guy for the next 2 years or 3 years? Because John will want a 2 or 3 year deal. He doesn't want to sign a 1 year deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're
so
probably
those
better
are
off with the young
so
guy.
many of those dynamics come into play here on whether you go plan A or plan B on what type of big name guy you want and the price tag it'll command.
I love that Minton is in the American League right now, and I've said this before. I think it's so good. Right now he's been back for 5 games. He's got like an empty netter, and otherwise it's pointless. Maybe he has 2 points, but it's not about points for him. He's just getting some reps down there, and at times I've been like, should they call this guy back up? Like Holmberg ain't doing it, whatever. He needs some time. Minton still needs time to be an everyday NHL guy.
Okay.
I do like Yanni Gourde, though.
Yeah, he's scrappy,
Fan of him.
competitive.
Good playoff guy.
Yeah.
Like that, if they're not going to go out there and do the big enchilada, that's a guy that I really do like the idea of.
I think Leafs fans would love him.
Okay, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, we got Luke Fox, Leaf NHL writer for Sportsnet.ca. We'll get into Matthews' return, the workload on Joseph Wall, and perhaps even a John Tavares contract and what that could look like.
Mm-hmm.
That and more when we return to Real Kipper and Bourne. Sammy McKee closing out 2024. Got Luke Fox. What?
I ran into a Greek guy named Nick at the O'Connor Meat Market. He says say hello and he loves the show.
Were you driving at the time?
No,
Okay, good. All right.
I will say I spent some time in Golf Town too after the holidays.
More Greeks there.
And the place for people who listen to our show, it's like a bunch of middle-aged white dudes. It's it's the sweet spot.
I too have been recognized at Golf Town. Yes.
So thanks for all the listeners. It's encouraging.
It is for sure. All right, is he out there, Luke Fox, or is he still opening up gifts?
Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
There he is.
Santa good to you, Luke?
My biggest thing was Golf Town gift certificate.
There you go.
I'm not just saying that to make for a smooth segue, but it's actually true.
Should get us all a certificate from Golf Town, shouldn't it?
A sponsorship, maybe. That would be nice.
My putter's like 30 years old, and I haven't ever hit it well once, so I don't know why I'm holding on to it. So
the new one, though.
I got to go there and get a new one.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I take it you've caught up to the Leafs post-Christmas, and the feeling is that, outside of maybe some inconsistencies in their game, is the feeling of Austin Matthews coming back any different from the 9 games he took off? Is there more concern, less concern? What's the overall feeling from your end?
From my end, I'd say there's more concern just because I don't think he ever quite looked right when he came back the first time after missing 11 games and going over to Munich and getting some special treatment. It's interesting because when he went away, Brad Treliving said, we want to nip this in the bud. We're taking this prolonged break so that when he comes back 100%. And I don't know what you guys are seeing, but I don't know if there was one game where he looked totally back or totally 100%. This is a nagging thing. And he's not going to play again tomorrow in the matinee against the Islanders. So that'll be another 5 games. I understand, we're late December. The playoffs are a long ways away. It's smart to exercise caution. You don't want to rush him back. But the questions are now at least circulating in our minds. Is this guy going to participate in the Four Nations tournament? Should he? Is this going to be nagging all the way to the playoffs? Is it going to hinder him there? So, they're being cautious. He was back at practice today, but left a little bit early. They're going to ease him back in here at some point, and you just hope that whatever is ailing him is something he can manage. And at the very least, you hope he's ready to go in April.
Yeah.
The Leafs center dilemma: who can strengthen the roster? If you're a Toronto Maple Leafs fan like me, you know the team's center depth has been a constant concern this season. With Austin Matthews set to return from a mysterious upper body injury next week, the excitement of having our star back is palpable. However, there are still serious issues to address in the center position to keep the team competitive and, of course, fuel our playoff dreams. David Kampf, a key piece in the center rotation, is sidelined with a lower body injury. As if that weren't enough, Kaye Jarnkrok is still recovering from surgery, leaving another gap in the lineup. Max Domi, expected to be a versatile asset, has been placed on injured reserve, further aggravating the situation after missing consecutive practices due to lingering pains. To sum it up, the Leafs are missing 4 functional centers, and the pressure to act is mounting. James Myrtle, a respected Leafs analyst and contributor to The Athletic, highlighted a series of potential trade targets to address this dilemma during his appearance on the J.D. Bunke's podcast. Among the names mentioned, two stood out: Nick Jugstad and, for the nostalgic fans, a possible reunion with Ryan O'Reilly. Jugstad seems to be Myrtle's favorite, and for good reason. The player, who signed a 2-year deal with the Utah Hockey Club last offseason, carries a manageable $2.1 million cap hit, which is essential for a team as salary cap-strapped as the Leafs. Additionally, standing at 6 feet 6 inches and weighing 205 pounds, he would bring not only physicality but also consistent offensive contributions. Jugstad is the most viable option for the Leafs right now, Myrtle stated on the podcast. And he's right. Experienced and versatile, Jugstad has played for several teams, including the Florida Panthers, Pittsburgh Penguins, Minnesota Wild, and Edmonton Oilers, and could quickly adapt to the Leafs dynamic. With an affordable contract and a solid track record, he offers a practical solution without sacrificing too many future assets. However, it's impossible to ignore the possibility of a Ryan O'Reilly return. Yes, we know he chose the Nashville Predators last summer in search of a quieter environment, but the Leafs management still holds him in high regard. The 2019 Stanley Cup winning captain with the St. Louis Blues is precisely the type of player any contender would love to have on their roster. However, the cost of bringing him back would be steep, both in terms of trade assets and cap space adjustments, as Nashville or a third team would need to retain part of his salary. I don't think the O'Reilly scenario is entirely out of reach, Myrtle said, showing that there's optimism within the organization. However, there are doubts about how much it's worth investing in a 33-year-old player, even with his impeccable credentials. Meanwhile, cheaper internal options like Steven Lorentz, Connor Dewar, Pontus Holmberg, and Fraser Minten have been mentioned. But let's be honest, these names might serve as short-term stopgaps, but they're far from offering the stability and impact the team needs. The pressure is all on GM Brad Treliving. He knows that despite the Leafs' solid performance so far, the center position is crucial to sustaining any championship aspirations. With the trade deadline approaching, Treliving has likely intensified his efforts to finalize a deal. And we, the fans, are eagerly awaiting good news. For now, all we can do is trust that the team can weather this tough phase and hope a solution, whether it's Jugstad, O'Reilly, or another name, arrives before things spiral out of control. After all, as we all know, the Leafs don't have the luxury of wasting another season with a promising but incomplete roster. The time to act is now. The Leafs center dilemma, expanding on the potential solutions. The Toronto Maple Leafs, amidst another promising yet tumultuous season, face one of their most pressing challenges, addressing a depleted center lineup that threatens to derail their momentum. While the return of Auston Matthews is a beacon of hope, the broader picture remains dire, requiring urgent action from the front office. With Kampf, Jarnkrok, and Domi sidelined, the team's depth has been stretched thin. The immediate impact is clear on both ends of the ice. Defensively, the Leafs are struggling to suppress opposing top lines without reliable two-way centers. Offensively, puck distribution and power play setups have been less dynamic, as the makeshift lineups lack the same chemistry. This imbalance underscores the necessity for reinforcements. Nick Jugstad, as highlighted by James Myrtle, presents the most realistic trade option. His affordable contract and towering physical presence align perfectly with the Leafs' needs. Beyond his imposing stature, Jugstad brings versatility. He can play both center and wing, a flexibility that would allow head coach Sheldon Keefe to adjust the lineup dynamically. However, acquiring Jugstad isn't without complications. The Utah Hockey Club, formerly the Arizona Coyotes, is currently rebuilding but may still demand a premium return for their experienced forward. The Leafs will likely need to part with a mid-tier prospect or draft pick to make the deal work. With their prospect pool already thin, Treliving faces a tough decision. Another name that excites fans and analysts alike is Ryan O'Reilly. The former Conn Smythe winner and Stanley Cup champion has a proven track record of elevating teams in high-stakes situations. His leadership during his brief stint with Toronto last season left a lasting impression. Yet, the Predators have little incentive to move him unless the offer is overwhelming. Should the Leafs pursue O'Reilly, it would almost certainly require a multi-asset package. A first-round pick and a promising young player like Nick Robertson might need to be part of the conversation. Additionally, Nashville would have to retain salary, a process that often involves a third-party team to facilitate. The logistics are challenging but not insurmountable. Internal options like Pontus Holmberg and Fraser Minten offer short-term relief but lack the experience needed for a deep playoff run. Holmberg has shown flashes of potential, but his limited NHL exposure raises questions about his readiness for a consistent role. Minton, while promising, is still developing and would be better served continuing his growth in the minors. A wild card option could be exploring European leagues or waiver claims to unearth an overlooked talent. Teams like the Vegas Golden Knights and Colorado Avalanche have found gems in unconventional ways, and the Leafs scouting department may need to cast a wider net to uncover an affordable, immediate solution. Another factor complicating the Leafs' decisions is the looming salary cap crunch. With Matthews' extension set to kick in soon, Toronto must be mindful of every financial commitment. Adding a high-priced center now could limit flexibility during the off-season, forcing Treliving to juggle short-term needs against long-term sustainability. Trade timing will also play a pivotal role. Acting quickly could stabilize the team and prevent further slip-ups in the standings, but it may come at the cost of negotiating leverage. Alternatively, waiting closer to the deadline could yield better deals as selling teams grow more desperate. The risk, however, is enduring several more weeks of uncertainty. Sheldon Keefe's role in navigating this storm can't be overstated. His ability to extract maximum effort from an injury-riddled lineup will be crucial. Keefe has already experimented with unconventional line combinations, but the lack of true centers limits his tactical options. A new acquisition would provide the stability he needs to implement a more structured game plan. The Leafs locker room has remained resilient through adversity, with veterans like John Tavares and Morgan Reilly stepping up as vocal leaders. However, even their efforts may not be enough to overcome the absence of key personnel. Reinforcements are not just a luxury, they're a necessity. For fans, the anxiety is palpable. After years of playoff heartbreak, this season feels like another chapter in the saga of unmet expectations. Yet, there's cautious optimism. The team has shown glimpses of brilliance, and the addition of a solid center could be the missing piece that transforms them from contenders to genuine threats. As the trade rumors swirl, one thing is certain: the next few weeks will be critical in shaping the Leafs season. Whether it's Bjugstad, O'Reilly, or an unexpected name, the decision made by Brad Treliving and his staff could define not just this campaign, but the team's trajectory for years to come. For now, we wait, hopeful that the Leafs will seize the moment and finally deliver on their immense potential. Will the Leafs make their move? As the speculation intensifies, the Leafs fan base is holding its collective breath, waiting for signs of a breakthrough.